Hello and welcome to the Gary Dunn Show for the week of September 23rd, 2024. I'm your host, Gary Smith. And as always on today's show, we're going to talk with Coach Dunn about this past week's matchup at Lock Haven, and then we're going to break down this upcoming week's opponent, the Gannon Golden Knights. But Coach, welcome back. You must feel great knowing that the long road trip is over. You have a home game this week finally.
I'm excited to finally play at home after 3 straight overnight trips on the road. We've been crossing the state, central Pennsylvania, eastern Pennsylvania, down to West Virginia. It's good to be at Adamson for a home game. I know our fans are excited to get us back here, and I know our guys are excited to play at home.
And we're going to break that all down in the second half of the show. But first, Coach, we're going to look back to this past Saturday's game. Again, the third straight road game, this time against the Lock Haven team that is they were making some noise in the first 2 weeks, went to Glenville and won pretty big, and then they took IUP down to the wire last Saturday. So you knew going into the game it was going to be a fight, a dog fight, just a good college football afternoon. But, Coach, I thought your team came off the bus, and, you know, sometimes it's an overused cliche in sports, but it was a business trip.
Yeah, good team win. I thought Lock Haven played extremely well. They're a talented group. Their defense flies around and creates some problems. They're good at every level. They got some kids up front that can play. Their linebackers are solid. I thought their safeties are probably as good as we're going to see in the league. So they had a nice plan, and I was happy with the way the game started. I thought, obviously, you start the game with an 80-yard touchdown. That's good and bad sometimes. But our kids were ready to play. We come out. I thought we played well offensively in the first half. Problem is, I didn't think we played well defensively in the first half. And then you flip it. We come out at halftime. Defense is playing great football, and we kind of got bogged down offensively. Didn't execute some things. I'm sure we'll go into it quarter by quarter. But, I was proud of the way our kids fought and grinded. Sometimes you got to do that on the road, against a good football team. It's not always going to be easy. Sometimes you got to fight and grind. And I thought we took a step in the right direction. This is the first fourth quarter that we won this year. I talked to the team earlier in the week. I think we were being outscored in the fourth quarter 30-7 going into this week. So for us to battle and grit through it and fight for 4 quarters and come out with the victory, I was proud of their efforts.
Well, and it was very much a tale of two halves. The first half was almost like a title fight, both teams taking haymaker shots. Like you said, scored first play of the game, a long touchdown pass. They came back, had a couple splash plays and a couple of touchdowns, and going in towards the middle half of the second quarter, it was Kyle was down, but again, we looked at each other in the press box like this is the script. You guys take the 7, get a possession with 7 minutes and just grind it out and score right before the half.
Yeah, I think we're doing a good job of that before the half of controlling the ball and scoring. I think the takeaways that we had yesterday as a coaching staff was we've got to eliminate the splash plays. That's kind of what's hurting our defense. I thought our defense controlled the line of scrimmage. I think they had negative 1 yard rushing. They really abandoned the run game in the second half because our defense was taking it away. And the couple splash plays that we gave up are things that we did to ourselves. So it's a thing where we've got to be more detailed. We got to be more assignment football. And really take away those splash plays and allow, make a team drive the length of the field against us, which I think is very difficult right now because we're kind of eliminating the run. Offensively in the first half, I thought we were efficient. We left some things out there, but give Lock Haven credit on both sides of the football. They're well coached. Their coaching staff has them believing, and so it was a good football game. And we go to halftime tied 17-17, I believe, right?
It was 17-all at halftime, and whatever you said at halftime, definitely your team responded to. I've always said, watching you and your staff for the past 8-9 years, your staff and yourself are one of the best in the conference at making adjustments at halftime, and it proved in the second half. It was a defensive struggle in the second half, but you had a feeling that the momentum eventually was going to be in Kyle's favor.
I'm going to give credit to Coach Turner, Coach Anthony Leonard, our D-line coach, Coach Scott Vienick, our DB coaches, Joey Fiasco and JaCoy Taylor. They came up with a good plan at halftime. And when I talked to Coach Turner at halftime, he said, here's what we're going to do. We were getting caught with some picks and some rub routes, and so we went to more of a too high and a coverage that we don't play a lot, but I thought it was a great adjustment. Coach Leonard, adjusted the front, which helped us as well. So it was a good job by them. Offensively, we came out and we had opportunities, and we kind of shot ourselves in the foot. We had a penalty that backed us up. We hit Eric Willis on a jet sweep, and we got a holding call that backed us up. Then we got a personal foul call that backed us up. We dropped a couple footballs, and against good defenses, you've got to execute the plays that are there. And I just didn't think we did that in the third quarter, but we kept grinding it out. Lock Haven was bringing some pressure off the field side, and we adjusted to that. I thought Coach Salisbury and Coach McLean did a nice job of, okay, here's what they're doing. We've got to adjust to it, and we were able to do that, put a drive together, get a field goal, put a drive together, get a touchdown, and really get up 10 with a couple minutes to play. But in college football, it's never over.
Well, the third quarter, that's a testament to just the grit and the talent of your team, because, going into this game, Lock Haven is, they've not had a lot of success in football. They were amped for last week's game against IP, and then definitely amped for this week's game against Cal. Yep. That game was back and forth and almost had a feel at times in the third quarter of almost a playoff type matchup where, this is, the loser of this game doesn't go anywhere. And I just thought they threw everything at you, and your defense just responded, had an interception to stop a drive, had a fumble recovery to stop a drive. And, we look at the stats. You mentioned, as a team, Lock Haven had -1 net rushing yards, and a lot of that is front seven stopping a run, but also front seven getting to the quarterback. Your team as a whole had 7 sacks for a combined 47 yards.
Yeah, that was huge.
That's, it seemed like he was on the run the entire game.
Yeah, obviously our D-line did a great job. Coach Leonard and Coach Fiasco are really emphasizing, our pass rush, and I think we got better. I think we took a step in the right direction there. I think something that's maybe a little bit understated is special teams was huge in the third quarter. One, you send Anthony Bico out there for a couple field goals on the afternoon, and not chip shot field goals, and he puts them right down the middle, was huge. But I thought Clayton Rosensteel and our punt team flipping the field a few times and pinning them back in, it kind of turned into a field possession game, and Clayton did a great job. He had one punt was over 50 yards. He pinned a couple inside the 20. And now, for us and what our kids got to realize is, when we're giving a team, they got to go 85, 90 yards. That's tough to do against our defense if we play good assignment football. So I thought special teams in the third quarter was huge. But we've got to offensively, we can't have 3 3-and-outs in a row. We've got to create a first down and manufacture a first down to kind of get us rolling a little bit. But our kids battled, so I'm not going to complain. It's something we can grow from. It's something we can learn from. And when we're in that situation again where we're maybe not having the success we want, okay, let's go back to work. Let's figure it out, and we go from there.
And moving ahead to the fourth quarter, it was 17-all going into the fourth quarter. Your team, a couple stops here and there. Get the ball back, drive the field, get a field goal to go up 3, and then towards the end of the fourth quarter, a great drive to go in and score and go up 27-17 going into the terminal stages of the game. That drive at the end was amazing.
2 huge drives, and I thought we kind of figured the run game out a little bit. We ran the ball effectively. We kind of got bogged down in that third quarter, but fourth quarter we kind of wore on them and ran the ball. We threw it a little bit. Jack Kalechi had a big catch. They were bringing a lot of pressure on first down, and we talked on the sideline and said, we're going to have to throw the ball on first down a little bit here to back them up, and we made some plays, and then we get down, the first drive we kicked the field goal, and then we ran a little RPO to Amari Hopkins on the touchdown. I give Coach Salisbury and Coach Mitchell all the credit for that because I wasn't initially excited about the play call, but they said, Coach, it's going to be wide open. And it was that point in the game we were up 3, and there was only a couple minutes left, and I was, I always talk to Coach Salisbury about the clock. He calls the plays, and I manage the clock. I said, hey, let's run some clock here if we can, and we end up scoring a touchdown to go up 10, and that was a huge drive for us.
And you go up 10, and one of the nice things too, and that I was going to ask the question, what's it like to have a leader, a quarterback like Davis Black? He's been around the block a little bit. You can kind of trust him not to. If it's not there, he's going to try and do something with his feet. He's not going to put a ball in a position where it's going the other way.
Yeah, I think Davis has really grown in that regards. I think one of the knocks, and I talked to him about it 2 weeks ago, was we have turned the ball over in the red zone a little bit. He does a great job of taking care of the ball, but when we got down there, and especially last year, he forced a couple things, and he's not doing that right now. He understands that we've got a good kicking game, and Anthony Bico's doing a good job. So, hey, let's not be afraid. Don't try and force anything in. Let's take 3 here, and 3's okay sometimes. But he did a good job, and Davis is playing really well. He's bringing a dimension. I think he's making great decisions. He's checking the ball down when it should be checked down. He's running the football effectively. So we've got to clean the passing game up a little bit. I think there were some things we left out there. Throwing the football that we're going to work on this week because I think we have dynamic receivers. I really, was just talking with Coach Salisbury in the office this morning. I love our depth at wide receiver with Eric Willis and Amari Hopkins, DeMont Martin, Deave Johnson, Nate Blessett, Tay Williams is really coming along. You're going to start seeing a little bit more of him. He's doing a great job in the return game. But that's we've got to clean the passing game up a little bit. But I will say the other thing on Saturday that I thought was huge was our special teams. We've made an emphasis on special teams this year. We didn't feel like we were very good on special teams last year, so we kind of doing things a little bit different. But every unit showed up. We had a big punt return. We had a big kick return. Our kickoff team pinned them inside the 20 a couple times. We flipped the field on punts. I thought when you get into close conference games, special teams can be a factor, and I thought Saturday our special teams were.
And let's look at some of the numbers from this past weekend. Davis Black, 14 of 24, 202 yards in the air, 3 touchdowns. On the ground, your team ran for a combined 113 yards, led by Bobby Boyd, 18 carries, 84 yards. And then you mentioned receivers. Davey Johnson, 98 yards and a touchdown. Amari Hopkins, 2 touchdowns. And then you look on the other side, as we mentioned before, 7 sacks for your team, 47 combined yards lost. And then Julian Venture and Amari Caballo each had 2 sacks. And then John Hutchinson with 11 tackles.
Yeah.
I mean, your guys were flying around.
Yeah, Hutch was playing well. It all started up front for our defense. We've got to clean some things up on the back end. I thought Lock Haven had a really good plan of some rub routes and some things that they were doing against our one high coverage. But, we gotta make the play in front of us. And I think sometimes we're maybe trying to do a little bit too much instead of playing your role and letting the play find you.
And let's see how the plays found California this past Saturday at Lock Haven for the highlights. We'll be right back after this, and then we're going to take a look at the highlights from last year's game against Gander, this upcoming week's opponent. You're watching the Gary Dunn Show right here on CUTV.
He takes the first snap, looking deep, has a man wide open inside of Bald Eagle territory, and nobody is going to catch him into the end zone for the Vulcan touchdown. Number 0, Deave Johnson. Looking to his right, has receiver, and the pass is caught. Evading everything into the end zone is Tyre Young. Rosenseal to hold the kick from Biko is up, and Biko's kick is more than good. 10-10 the score, 14:09 left to go here. Ostrowski takes the snap, looking to his left again, has a man in the end zone, able to complete it for the touchdown. Number 3, Quan Williams able to pull it in after another big hit taken from Ostrowski. Black looking, firing to the back of the end zone, has a man caught in the back of the end zone for the Vulcan touchdown. Amari Hopkins takes the snap. Vulcans attempting to fire it deep. Pass is picked off on the far side. Rashawn Murray. Quick throw on the near side, caught. 1 tackle broken, 2 tackles broken, 3 tackles broken, 4. As Young is inside of Vulcan territory, but he lost the football. And the Vulcans have it. Rosenseal to hold. Biko's kick is up. Anthony Biko's kick is good. Never a doubt about it. 20-17 the score. The Vulcans finally reclaim the lead. Black in the gun, handoff to Boyd, play action, fooled me as well, and finds Amari Hopkins in the back of the end zone for the Vulcan touchdown.
Join us for the 7th annual Vulcans Athletics Day of Giving, kicking off on Tuesday, September 24th, to support Vulcans Athletics. For 24 hours, alumni, family, and friends will have the opportunity to make a gift in support of their favorite Vulcan sports team. All gifts support student-athlete scholarships. This year, the goal is to raise $45,000. Make a gift and invite others to join you. You make a difference.
More than 7,500 student athletes working to become champions in the league's 23 championship sports. 17 member campuses, educating more than 110,000 students. With an alumni base that tops the 1 million mark. The Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference making the PSAC proud.
Vulcan football is back and ready to take on the best the PSAC has to offer this fall. After road games at Charleston, Westchester, and Lock Haven, the Vulcans return to Adamson Stadium for the home opener on September 28th. Save the date for October 19th and homecoming versus Slippery Rock. The Coal Bowl comes to Addison Stadium on October 26th versus IUP. The home schedule concludes with back-to-back games on November 9th versus Edinboro and Senior Day November 16th versus Shippensburg. For up-to-date information on the Vulcans, follow Cal Vulcans on social media or go to calvulcans.com. For live games and highlights, go to CUTV Sports 1 on YouTube or the PSAC Digital Network.
Sports fans, we pack stadiums, arenas, and local gyms every day. And every sports fan is uniquely human. Seeing each play with your own eyes, triggering your own emotions. And as humans, we won't agree on every call, but we can act with empathy and consideration. So put yourself in the official shoes. Be more than a fan. Be officially human.
Handoff this time to Cameron, and Cameron gets the blocks, and Cameron slips through, and Cameron going to go untouched into the end zone for the Vulcan touchdown. And just like that, the Vulcans, out of nothing, able to get themselves on the board. Full receiver set black in the gun. Has time, just going deep towards the end zone. The pass caught for the touchdown.
Davis Black hanging it off to Bobby Boyd. Bobby Boyd bouncing it back outside, and that will be a touchdown. Whitaker the snap, the handoff, and the ball is fumbled. And ball is still rolling out. And they're going to say the Vulcans will come up with a recovery. Fake handoff, and it's a keep. And that is a touchdown, Vulcans. Miko back. Kick is up. And it is good. Now making the score 31-10, Vulcans. Miko kick is up. And it is good.
And welcome back to the Gary Dunn Show. Right there we saw the highlights from Lock Haven, this past week's opponent, and we saw the highlights from the 2023 encounter against the opponent this week, the Gannon Golden Knights. Once again, Coach, just to put a bow on the Lock Haven game, if you put a star, what was the most important play of the game?
Wow, that's a great question.
Putting you on the spot. You got one big star. What turned
I
the
don't
corner?
know if I could say most important play. I think the way our defense just kept playing in the second half. I was proud of the way our team stuck together. Offense wasn't having success, and you know, it's not the defense's job to worry about the offense. The defense is to go out there when called and get stops and create field position, and I thought they did that. You know, I would say the if I had to pick one play, it was our hustle knocking a ball out. They were getting ready to have a first down in the third quarter at the 50-yard line. We got back into play and stripped the kid and recovered a fumble, and I thought that was huge because they had kind of flipped field position there, and creating that turnover was a big part in that game.
And that play was on the highlights. And I tell you what, Coach, when you see it on the highlights, I'm sure you've seen on film the player that came from behind to strip that ball. It was big, and he's had big plays for his 2 years here. But you can kind of feel like the air just kind of coming out of that stadium whenever that play was made. So, Coach's big star goes to the defense, and we'll put a secondary star on that fumble recovery for the Vulcans. But let's take a look and put a star on the roundup of the scores from this past weekend in the PSAC. Last weekend of the first round of crossover play, California 27 at Lock Haven. 27-20 was the one. We just talked about that. Bloomsburg beating Edinburgh 32-27. Westchester getting nipped by Seton Hill 27-24. Clarion and Shepherd winning 27-9. Kutztown all over Gannon 37-14. Slippery Rock over Shippensburg 33-7, and then IUP at Millersville 42-14. But Coach, as we turn the page, and this is not an error. We actually have a home game this week. Going to be at Adamson Stadium, but it's against Gannon, and so it's a home game, divisional game. And it seems like we always talk every year that no matter what any team does in the first 3 games, if you're 3-0, 2-1, 1-2, 0-3, every team from this point forward has a chance to run a table, get into that conference title game, and all your goals are still ahead of you. So what's the message to the team, first of all, going into this, turning the page into divisional play?
Yeah, the focus has got to be on us. I think we've got to get some things fundamentally cleaned up on both sides of the ball, but the focus has to be on us. Yeah, we'll look at the opponent and we'll have a plan based on the things that they do, but it's what do we do well. I told Coach Salisbury that we're going to put a cut up together of things that we didn't do well, and then I told Coach Turner the same thing yesterday. I want him to put a cut up of the explosive plays that we've given up and see if there's a common denominator, see what the issues are, kind of studying ourselves. But Gannon's a good football team. Gannon, we've had great matchups with Gannon. We've lost a couple home games to Gannon. So our guys better be ready to play. They've got some athletic kids on defense. I think their defensive ends are as good as anybody in the league. They can rush the passer. I think they have always got skilled kids on the back end. Defensively, they're playing good football. You flip it over to the offense, is they just haven't found their groove yet. They've got some nice skill kids. The quarterback's solid. It's just they haven't really found their groove yet, and we got to keep it that way. We've got to play great assignment football and run to the football, and defensively we got to tackle better. We had, I think, 22 missed tackles on Saturday, which is way too much because skill guys in this league, if you miss tackles, they're going to make you pay and go the other way. So we've got to get better at tackling. But Gannon's a well-coached team that's going to come in here. And the PSAC West is a grind. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. When you get into West play, you got to show up and play good football every week, or someone's going to take advantage of it.
And I was going to say, just looking at the stats a little bit before the show today, Gannon looks. They look on paper a better team than their record. So, and that's 100%. Always a dangerous team, especially a team on the road. Again, like I said, starting divisional play. I know you had a chance to look at some of their film. We'll start breaking down their offense. What kind of sets? What can we expect to see?
They're very similar to us. They're going to spread it out at times. They're very similar to us offensively. But I will tell you, they've had a heck of a schedule. They play a good Northwood team out of Michigan that's 2-1 right now, and then they played 2 ranked teams. They played East Stroudsburg, who was a playoff team a year ago, and is a really well-coached, good football team. And then they played Kutztown, who's ranked 8th in the country right now and was a Final Four team from a year ago. So we understand what we're going to get with Gannon. They're going to play extremely hard, and they're going to be sound, and we've got to do a good job of worrying about Cal and not them. But very similar to us. They've probably, going into this week, they were throwing the ball predominantly. They hadn't had many runs until this week, and then they tried getting the running game going this week. But very similar formation and lead us offensively. They do some good things that'll create some problems. So it goes back, and I know I sound like a broken record, but it goes back to assignment football. Do your job in big plays. If you're in the right place, big plays are going to come to you. If you try and improvise and do somebody else's job, that's when the offense exploits us. So, that's the message to the defense this week.
Now, flipping to the other side of the ball, what kind of fronts, what does their defense do well that we should be worried about?
Yeah, I think they rush the passer extremely well. I think their defensive ends kind of jump off the screen at you. Starting all day yesterday and today is the first thing that I noticed. I think their inside linebackers are good run fit guys and play well, and then they got some skill kids, especially at safety in the secondary. They play a little bit of everything. They'll play an even front, probably more even front than Gannon's played the last couple of years. A year or two ago, they were a 3 high safety, 3-3 stack team. They're playing a little bit more even front, but they will jump into an odd front. If they get you in long down distances, they're going to walk backers up and twist them with the D-line and bring pressure that way. So, we've got to be more technically sound up front. I think Coach McClain said it well yesterday. He said it was, the first game where we didn't rely on all of our technique that we're taught. So we've got to get back to a little bit of that, and then we got to have balance. I think, we got to be able to throw the ball. We got to be able to throw the ball deep at times, and we're going to run the football. But we've got to have good balance.
And it always seems, at least the last few years, game has always been strong defensively up the front, playmakers, guys moving to the ball, just flying to the ball. So something definitely to watch about. And Coach, the third phase of the game, special teams. I mean, we know what we have. You know what you have on your sideline. You have a couple weapons. We have several weapons. You got 2 kickers that can just do an outstanding job. You got returners, but the other side of the ball, what does Gannon look like special teams?
Yeah, they're going to bring pressure on our punt team. They do a nice job on that. They're solid in the special teams game, but I think that's a thing we got to continue to grow at. Like I said earlier, I was really happy with our special teams on Saturday, and we chart special teams every week. We felt like in the first week of this season, we lost 4 out of the 5 special teams. Last week, we won 4 out of the 5. Or 2 weeks ago, we won 4 out of the 5. We would have won 4 out of the 5 hadn't we given up an onside kick. It was really the only negative special teams play I felt like we had Saturday, and give Lockhaven credit. So we got to continue to grow. I think our return game's getting better. I think we averaged 20 yards of punt return. We did have a penalty that we got to get corrected on that, and then we had a big kickoff return. So I think we're growing in special teams, and I think that can be an advantage for us.
And another advantage could be you, the fans, coming out to Addison Stadium.
Let's go.
Coach, when I was doing the graphics, it wouldn't let me change away, but finally I got it. A home game, Saturday at noon, Addison Stadium. Tailgate lot's probably going to be open up about 4 in the morning. Have your, when CUTV comes in and Coach comes in, let's get some sausage sandwiches, maybe some kielbasa handed off to us. But before we get your pitch, I'll give you a few seconds to think about what you say to get everyone out to the stadium this Saturday. Let's take a look at the schedule around the PSAC. Obviously, Kyle Gannon noon. These are all, of course, divisional games finally. Millersville at Lockhaven, that's a 1 o'clock game. Shepherd at Shippensburg, the Battle of I-81 at 1 o'clock. Westchester at Bloomsburg at 2 p.m. Clarion at IUP at 4. Edinburgh at Slippery Rock at 6. And then Kutztown at East Stroudsburg at 6:05. So PSAC football from about noon in the afternoon to about 9 o'clock at night. But, Coach, the biggest game on that graphic, Cal
at home at Adamson Stadium. Yeah. No, I'm excited. I know I've talked to a lot of our alumni that are going to be here. We need the students to come out. Stay here for the weekend, enjoy it. Your parents don't want you to come home anyway. That's what I tell my guys. But I think we'll have a good crowd. This is a fun group to watch, and we're going to be involved in this community as well. We've got a lot of community service projects that we plan throughout the year. So. We'd love to have the community come out and support us. It's going to be a great day at Adamson Stadium. Come up and have a good time with us.
And the early weather forecast looks like it's going to be about 75 to 78 degrees. Partly cloudy, no rain. So it's going to be a perfect afternoon for football. So I said, come on out, tailgate.
You're hosting a tailgate with free steak, right?
Free steak. It's going to steak or steak-ish. The spelling of steak's a little off, but it's edible. So we'll hand off some stuff to you. But like I said, come on out, have a great day, show the Vulcan team finally at home. Let's give them some support. So for Coach Dunn, we'll see everybody at Saturday at noon. If you can't make it there, CUTV has you covered on the PSAC Digital Network and CUTV Sports 1. So for Coach Dunn, I'm Gary Smith. We'll see you next week on The Gary Dunn Show.